Hi, I'm making a video on married sexuality. I'm outside in the wind. I have a nice background behind me. I don't know if this little camera picks it up, but I scoot it over so I can be seen. So my hair is flopping around, and I'm just going to talk about a topic about married sexuality. And in the Bible, let's look at 1 Corinthians chapter 7. It says, and the wind blew my pages here. It says, now concerning the thing you wrote to me, it is good. Now concerning the things of which you wrote to me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. Nevertheless, because of sexual immorality or because of fornication, let each man have his own wife, and each woman have her own husband. Let the man render to his wife the affection due her, and likewise also the wife to her husband. The wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does. And likewise, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife does. Do not deprive one another, except for consent for a time, that you may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and come together again, so that Satan does not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. Now, in this passage, Paul is he promotes celibacy as superior to marriage, but not everybody is called to that. And so if you do have difficulty with temptation to fornication, or it's something that's you want that a sexual part of your life and you don't want to live in celibacy, you should get married. You should choose wisely, of course. I've actually made some other videos on that topic, but the it is good to be married if you're in this situation. Some people are designed for marriage. It's good to be married, and one of the many reasons is because of having a sexual outlet that prevents you from fornicating. And when God created man and woman, He said, "Be fruitful and multiply." So this is, of course, a normal thing. Um, Now, some things that we see here is that there's some affection that the wife that's due the wife, and some affection that's due the husband. And so this is due the other person. It's a duty. It's a right. Depending on how you look at it, husband has authority over his wife's body. The wife has authority over her husband's body. So each member in the marriage relationship has rights to sex with the other member in the marriage relationship, and we need to, if you're married, you need to have that in your heart and in your mind, that this is not something that you can just withhold and give whenever you want to, or give as a reward, or withhold as a punishment, or to get your own way, or whatever, or just not care about it and ignore the other person. That's wrong. Um, if you know, we sometimes people have something physically wrong with them, of course, and they'll not be able to do certain things. But if that's not the case, you need to take it as a serious obligation to. That sounds unromantic and bad, but you need to take it seriously, your partner's needs, and you need to do it with love for your partner. Now that sounds a little better. Um, so it's not something that's to be ignored, and it's defrauding actually if your spouse has sexual needs and you just say no, or you don't pay attention to it and you ignore it and you keep turning the other person down. That's a sinful thing to do, and it's cheating the other person. And just think about it. You know, someone thinks, okay, I reads the Bible and says, okay, I'm not cut out for celibacy. I have sexual needs and kind of a romantic needs, a desire for this type of affection, for the companionship, and of course including the sexual part of it. So they think, all right, I'm going to get married and I'll have somebody that I can live a holy life, and I can still have a sexual partner and all the companionship and children and all the things that I want, that I need as for to be fulfilling and to live a godly life with the Lord. And then they get married to somebody else who either thinks, maybe they think they're just not interested in sex, or they just use it as a tool or as a weapon, or they just allow their heart to become cold in that area towards their spouse, or they think it's unholy or whatever. And for whatever reason, they just decide not to give the other partner the partner's right, the partner's due. And it's defrauding. It's like you say, okay, well, we enter into this relationship where it's understood that I'm going to meet your sexual needs, you're going to meet my sexual needs. But then when you get in the relationship, you say, well, I'm not going to meet your sexual needs, but oh yeah, you got to support me financially, and give me all my needs of somebody to talk to and somebody to do all these other things with companionship. But this need that you have, that was one of the reasons you decided to get married and not be celibate, I'm not going to give that to you, and you don't get your fair share of the contract if you want to make it in a, that's kind of doesn't sound very good, but you know, that's one way to look at it. So that's not a good thing to do. That's a bad thing to do. It's sinning. It's defrauding. It's cheating. It's like, yeah, it's defrauding. It's like if somebody steals your credit card number, or somebody um, hires you to work for a certain wage and then they don't pay you. So those are things that are not pleasing to the Lord, and neither is this. So now, of course, if somebody has medical issues and they're not able to do certain things, you know, of course, you understand that. But this is an important issue in marriage, and we need to have our the right idea about it. Now, some people think that sex is an unholy thing, and that you know should only do it a few times in life just to have children, and that's all, and things like that. You know, people will have attitudes that they picked up, and maybe some people don't like the entire topic. Maybe they think maybe some people were molested as children, or maybe they were flashed, or maybe they went over to somebody's house and somebody popped in a porno, which takes something that's supposed to be beautiful and loving and between a married couple, and just shows two people doing things in a way that seems unnatural and disgusting and scars some kid for life. And then yeah, then they carried that on in their mentality into marriage. So there are other people, maybe they grow up in a home where it's a taboo topic and they feel like there's something dirty about it. So let's look at Hebrews 13:4. It says, marriage is honorable among all, and the bed undefiled, but fornicators and adulterers God will judge. So it says the bed is undefiled. Now, some translations say, it could also be translated to keep the marriage bed undefiled, and let marriage be holy in all. So yeah, but the whichever case it is, you can have an undefiled marriage bed, and you do that by keeping that in the marriage. It's only supposed to be for the husband and for the wife, and everything should be done in love. And yeah, so it's a good thing. It's a beautiful thing, and it's not something evil. Um, Now let's look up Proverbs 5. Here's a passage that gives us some insight into what our attitude should be about sexuality in marriage. And my point in reading this is to show that the Bible speaks positively about sexuality in marriage, and that it's a good thing and it's a positive thing. It's a thing that should be appreciated. So the problem I'm kind of thinking of is if there's now, and stereotypically I'll go with a wife. Now sometimes it's reversed. It's the husband and the wife. Let's say the husband has a sex drive and he desires his wife, and he's pursuing her, and he kisses her, he's affectionate towards her, and then she says, all you want is to get me in the bedroom. And she's angry about that or bitter about that, and she's upset. Why do you always want to do this with me? And so and it can happen the opposite way as well. But here, this is the reason I'm reading this passage, to address that type of situation. And it's an exhortation about not committing adultery. Proverbs chapter 5, verses 15 through 20 says, drink water from your own cistern, and running water from your own well. Should your fountains be dispersed abroad, streams of water in the streets. If you read the context, and we'll go down and you'll see, this is an exhortation not to commit adultery. So you should keep you drink your water from your own well. You get your sexuality from your own wife, your sexual expression from your own wife, not the neighbor's wife, okay? Not an immoral woman. And running water from your own well. Should your fountains be dispersed abroad? Okay, you shouldn't be having sexual relations with some other person outside of your marriage. You shouldn't be having kids with the neighbor's wife or whatever, and they grow up calling somebody else daddy and that sort of thing. Let them be only your own, and not for strangers with you. Let your fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of your youth. As a loving deer and a graceful doe, let her breasts satisfy you at all times, and always be enraptured with her love. For why should you, my son, be enraptured by an immoral woman, and be embraced in the arms of a seductress? One of the other translations said, be intoxicated with her love. So here we see the fountain is blessed, blessed in connection with sexuality. Joy, rejoice with the wife of your youth. Let her breasts satisfy you, satisfaction, at all times, all times. And you should always be enraptured or intoxicated with her love. So here, this is, and it's discouraging being with an immoral woman. This is an exhortation against adultery, and there's a sexual connotation here. So we see that this is a positive thing. If the man um, is intoxicated with his wife's love, if he's enraptured with her physically, she's always satisfying him, and it works both ways too. So this is a positive thing. So if you're in a relationship and your spouse, if you're in a marriage and your spouse is always after you for this, you need to keep a right attitude about it. You need to realize this is actually a good thing. It's a good thing that you're being desired. It's a good thing that you're being pursued. It's a good thing that you're being chased around. It's a good thing that that person is interested in you. And the children of Israel were in the desert, okay, and then the Lord sends them this bread from heaven, manna. It drops down from heaven, and it drops down from heaven, and then they eat it, and they don't have to go farm. They don't have to go hunt. They don't have to do all these other things to get the bread from heaven. It's just coming down, and then you know what they do? They eat it, and they're real happy, I guess, for a while. But then they start complaining. Why did we leave Egypt? We got to eat this bread all the time. We got manna souffle, we got manna, we got fried manna. Well, probably not. I think they made cakes out of it, but they probably had a few recipes, and they're eating the same thing over and over again every day, and that's what they're thinking instead of saying, "Wow, every day we get up, praise the Lord, there's food, and we don't even have to farm for it." They have the wrong attitude, and they start complaining about all the leeks and onions they were eating in Egypt. And what about meat? Why can't we have some meat? And they could have, with a good, contrite, holy attitude and thankfulness, asked for meat as well, and I believe the Lord would have provided it. But the grumbling made the Lord be displeased. So the Lord was giving them something good, and then they complained about it. How do you feel when you buy this expensive meal for your kids, and it's a kind of food that you think they would actually like, and then they just complain about it? But these were adults, and they should know better than kids. And then they complain about something good. Well, just think about that in terms of sexuality. Suppose you had a partner who just was not interested in you at all, and you was always giving you the cold shoulder all the time. How would you feel? And you need to think this is a positive thing. This is a good thing, and give thanks for it, and be thankful for it.